Welcome to Something Crunchy. Tyler is homies with Blake. Blake is the older bro of Blair. Blair is married to Tyler, and is a slutty slut.
Welcome to Something Crunchy.
What the hell is crunchy?
Welcome to Something Crunchy. Welcome to another special edition episode of Something Crunchy. I am Cullen Blake. With me, as always, Blair and Tyler Dressel. Wow, do we have a cool guest with us tonight? Rock royalty joining the Crunchcast.
Yes.
You know him from bands like Supertramp, Toto, and Think Floyd. Please welcome Scott Page.
Oh, the crowd roars. Oh, they did roar. Scott Page here. Hi, nice to see you all. Nice to meet you all. And thank you very much for having me on your show. And I thought I was going to do the big crowd roar, but you did it anyway, right?
Have you covered. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you, Mr. Page?
My pleasure. Actually, I'm excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a really fun time, even though, it's been a crazy time, obviously, because of all of this crazy lockdown and stuff. But, I'm one of those people that I've learned in my life that the most important thing is to look for the upside and down.
Absolutely.
I just believe that there's, this whole situation has created more opportunities as an entrepreneur than I've ever seen in my life. And I think there's just incredible times for people, artists, musicians, to take advantage of all the things that are going on right now. But you have to, look for them and see what's going on, because there's some great stuff that's actually going on through all of this.
Ooh, and we're going to get into that.
Come on.
Such an opportunist you are.
I know. Love to hear
Come
that.
on.
That's cool.
In a time when we miss going to shows more than ever, and I think appreciate them now more than ever, you're sitting on one of the most entertaining shows on the planet. Tell us about Think EXP and Think Floyd, the immersive virtual reality experience providing 360 degrees of mind-melting magic.
Oh my God, too cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah. So, quite a few years ago, for the last 4 or 5 years, I started to realize that, you can't sell music anymore. There's no place to sell any music, right? Where do you sell music? It's all streaming services.
Right.
And for most artists, it's not a great business model. It can be okay if you can get, 1 million streams will get you roughly, $4,000, right? But, if you look at Spotify, there's probably, I think the last time I heard was probably roughly only 2 to 3% of the people hit that number. So imagine 95% of everything on Spotify doesn't even read it. So it's really not a great business model for artists. So I realized that the opportunity really is in the experience. And so we started really thinking. I started Think EXP. It's a Think Experience, and it's really an immersive entertainment company. So it's focused on really immersive experiences based on kind of new technologies and things. So our first Think experience was a Think Floyd experience. We decided to do Pink Floyd because it made sense, and we did 40 shows in a 360-degree immersive dome in a place called Wisdom, downtown LA. We sold out 40 shows, and it's a trip. You lay there on the ground and you're surrounded. It's almost like a shared VR experience. And the band's doing Floyd. People are smoking weed.
God, I was going to say, you have continued to find new and innovative ways to get the next generation of fans to come do drugs at your shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't me. You could just smell it in the room. It was crazy. But,
wasn't me. No, it sounds like you don't even need to be on drugs at these shows.
No, you didn't. You didn't really. No, it was just the point is that it was just a great experience.
Yes.
And we started realizing, people will pay for an experience. And, we were getting roughly an average $80 a ticket, which was great, and selling out. So it was a really good business to think about that. So Think Experience is really focused on this immersive stuff. And now what happened was we were ready to have our biggest year. We were getting ready to launch this 1,600 seat immersive theater downtown at the Queen Mary. And we were working on that deal, and we had Jazz Fest set up, and we were going to Europe because inside of Think Experience is a band called Think X, which is myself from my Floyd days, and then Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, and Norwood Fisher from Fishbone, and Kenny Olson from Kid Rock, kind of an all-star band. And we played gigs. So we were going to have our big year, and then I woke up one morning and everything was shut down, and it was like, what's going to happen? So I just realized that I believe here's the most fundamental thing, and I try to say this on every show to remind people: the only thing that's real is you and me talking right now, right?
So
Yeah.
2 minutes ago is a complete illusion, and 2 minutes from now is an illusion, right? It's a complete. It's not
Love your
real.
brain.
The only thing that's real.
It's right
So
now.
I realized So I got up that morning, had a cup of coffee, said, gee, we lost everything, all our revenue, everything's shut down. We don't get any gigs, everything's done. And I just realized, well, that was all an illusion too. It never happened. It was only in my head. So I can't get, there's no reason for me to get hung up on it. So I started to really think about looking at what are the new business models? And I come out of technology. I've not only as an artist, but I'm on my fourth startup, and I've had they're all been in the tech space. I was fortunate enough and very thankful I took one of them public on a NASDAQ company. And so I've been through the whole business side of it. I'm an entrepreneur. So I started looking at where is the market going. Yeah. And I realized there were three things that were really happening, right? Well, number one, we knew we're not going to get in front of a lot of people in concerts right now. We're not going to fill, 5,000 people in a room. It just isn't going to happen for a bit, right? And then I also realized the main invention that's happened right now is really the concept of real-time two-way streaming. Not just streaming, but two-way streaming, the back channel, the real time, just like you do a Zoom call, you're doing real time two-way, right? Yep. And I realized that was a major opportunity. And how can the opportunity to bring fan in stream, right? So on a show. And then the third thing I realized was delivery service, because everybody's using delivery services now. So we're launching Livin.live, which is a combination of a live premium type of show, streaming, but bringing fans into the event, being part of it through a virtual experience, through screens and through all that, making them part of the show, and then doing a delivery box that shows up at somebody's house prior to our show. Wow. So we can do pre-show, we can do wine tasting and food tasting and all these things. And in this box, cool. All this stuff in the box shows up that makes the party fun, because I think a lot of people are going to, stay at home now and invite their friends over for parties. And I realize that, people have Super Bowl parties and live events can be exciting.
That's really good.
So we designed this business model for, making that happen. So we've now shifted our business and we're getting ready. We're going to do our first big one coming up in July. And that'll be the kind of the big swan song for that. And I'm very excited.
God, the time is now. You really are an opportunity. Man, that's a great idea. Very creative.
Thank you.
And wow.
Thank you.
That's excellent.
That's what you need right now. It's just like creativity.
Any idea when the tour will resume?
Well, again, it's looking, there's looking like in LA, they're talking about opening up in June, mid-June. Okay. Yeah. So, and there are some tours that are already getting booked and some people going out. So there's some of that. But again, my whole show is I'm doing it. I partnered with a place called Laurel Canyon Live, and it's the most state-of-the-art production facility I've ever seen in the world. It's just, and I'm a tech guy in the business, and this place is crazy. And so we're going to be launching our whole living thing. But what's really exciting, if you want to talk about excitement right now, is the fact of what's going on with NFTs. Have you been following that at all?
Oh,
sure. Absolutely.
Tyler.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've basically launched on top of living an entire NFT business with my partners from Cosmic Wire, and we are getting ready to launch a whole series of NFTs with a whole bunch of major celebrities around a whole concept. And I'm actually getting ready to release 40 years of my collectibles. Because I've been collecting all this stuff from all these bands through the years, from Toto and Supertramp and Floyd and all these gigs that I've done through the years. And so I'm very excited about this space because it's more than just a transaction. It's the concept of tokenizing is basically revolutionizing the planet. Yeah. And I truly believe that right now, this fundamental shift which a lot of people don't realize what it means. They don't understand the technology. They don't understand what this does, but this basically has changed the landscape for artists, creators, and people that own IP. It's incredible. No labels. You don't need labels anymore. You have a way to monetize your content, monetize your stuff, and at the same time track it. It's the new publishing. It's this whole new era, and this is going to completely change the landscape of the entertainment business.
You're 100% correct. And when it comes to music, that is an absolute no-brainer. I want you to settle a debate for us. Tyler believes that we can monetize a podcast through NFTs, at least in segments, or that it could be revolutionary to throw podcasts into the game. I don't know if it can be done that way.
Absolutely.
Tyler thinks it should have happened yesterday.
Agreed.
Settle this
of
debate.
Of course. Good, Tyler. You get an A.
Yeah. Oh my God, he is like.
You get an A, girl. Yes, you. See, I know who's smart in this group. I can tell. Right? All right.
Thank you, sir.
It's very clear. It's very clear.
That.
Who's paying attention? I like having people that pay attention. That's good. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, no question. Everything is going to be anybody that's not doing it is missing out, because basically you then control the entire entity of that podcast. So even downstream, you have control of it. Everything will be segmentized. Now, if I was you, I would start thinking about ways of tying that to unique things that you can do with your podcast. Like, again, if we were having a podcast, like a perfect example is, you could have, like, my whole thing of, you could have sent me something, a box that I could have had, and we could have been talking about it. Like, let's say we're sponsored by a coffee company.
Sure.
Oh, what do you think? We could be tasting the coffee and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You know, I would have had it. You would be
Immersive
saying,
experience.
what do you think about this? Right? I've got an experience going on,
It's
which
all
would have been
about the
great.
experience. I'm so
That's-
with you.
Listen, an artist today, you can't sell music. What can you sell? There's several things. One is the relationship, right? If you've got something, you can sell your relationship and people will pay for being close to you to follow your stuff. And the second thing is an experience. If it doesn't have an experience anymore, it doesn't make any sense. And you have to figure out how to rise above the noise and create things that people care about. So, this is a great time, and people need to understand everything is going to be tokenized. So like with our Living show, which we're going to be launching, that entire show will be tokenized, and so many things are going to be turned into NFTs throughout the entire event, because every piece of that, once you tokenize it, you add value. It has value.
Yep.
And that's a big difference. And remember, anybody that owns that token now has a marketplace that they can go buy and sell and trade.
Absolutely.
So if you think, if you're a young band, people say, well, how does this work? I can understand if you're a big band and you've got lots of people and your stuff is valuable. And I'm saying, well, no, wait, it starts out different. If I'm a young band and I'm going to go make a record right now, first of all, I would, let's say I'm going to do an EP. I got 5 songs. Each of those 5 songs, I would team up with some great artist, and we'd create pieces of art that would go with each song.
Sure.
And then I would offer this limited edition to those, because then if I'm a fan of that band, I buy one of those and that band turns into you too. My thing
Gold.
I paid $15 for turns into being $150,000 or whatever.
There's page 1 out of your playbook right there.
Yeah.
Unsigned artists. And I was going to get to that later and just, ask you for your advice for them. We feature an unsigned artist every week on our show. And that's great advice. Linking up with an artist to make something that's both visual and tangible, and then also with a track, and that can even, to capture the mood. That's fucking brilliant. That's
plus
awesome.
you can gamify NFTs. You can start putting interactive experiences in those that only certain people get to unlock. Man. And there's tradability, and there's other things that can be put into that. So it's a fascinating space, because remember, when like if you look at the Kings of Leon thing, right? They went out, they put 20,000 records out. We sold them as an NFT, right? They made close to $2 million in that 7-minute or whatever the auction period was, right? And now those things are trading, and people that have them, there's only 20,000 of those that'll ever be there. So the people trade those up. As that value goes up, those people have bought something that has value.
Yep.
If you used to buy a record, the only value you had is if you took it back to the record store that would buy used records. But this is different. If I have a specific edition of that thing and I can prove the authenticity of that, which is why the blockchain is so powerful, then that's a rare, it creates rarity and scarcity. Remember, that's what this is about, scarcity. I mean, everybody needs to understand what's going on right now in the crypto world, because NFTs are part of crypto. It's cryptology. It's a token. It's a different. We have there's 2 different types of tokens. An NFT, for those out there don't know, stands for non-fungible token. A fungible token is like Bitcoin or one of the coins, Ethereum. And so you understand what it is. So when it's fungible, it means that if I have 1 Bitcoin and you have a Bitcoin, and I give you my Bitcoin and you give me your Bitcoin, I can walk away and nothing changed. So I have $1, I give you my dollar bill, you give me your dollar bill, I still have $1. That's fungible. Non-fungible is where I have this dollar and you have something else, and you can't interswap them. Right. So that means it's a non-fungible token. So the whole idea of tokenizing everything, we're moving into Chuck E. Cheese for the planet.
It's true.
Yeah.
It really is.
Seriously.
It's basically what it is.
50 tickets for that song, please.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. 50 tickets for that song, right? Even tickets are going to be tokenized, because people are going to want to know, I was at that concert. Well, I'll sell you my ticket stub.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's value. It's valuable.
It's value.
Let's get back into the concert. I love the technology that you're developing for the show. I've heard you mention about interactive clothing that's connected to your smartphone, shoes that turn your body into a speaker. This is so up our alley. We love talking about new tech. Hit us
I
with
need to
this.
hear more about those.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm a technologist. That's been my whole life. I've kind of married technology and entertainment. That's kind of been my lane that I went after. And there's no question, like I said, people will pay for experiences because I started realizing
Yeah.
that when you're seeing things like, the Museum of Ice Cream, these pop-ups that are popping up, and there's
Yep.
lines around the block for people going there, and you got selfie stations and people that can do things. So you can start thinking about the experience based part of it. What are people going to do when they get to the concert? The intergalactic clothing was fantastic because I could just tap on your shoulder and it would launch this thing, and all of a sudden I can take our picture and tap and then post it, and it goes to all of our social feeds. So there's ways to create technology and experience, obviously with AR, right? That's
Yes.
another thing where
Yep.
we were doing stuff where we built AR, where you could be watching the show up on the screens, and there's certain times that come up, you hold your phone up and you get more data and more information. So people are using phones everywhere we go, and instead of having them take the phones out, we figured out, well, they got them, let's get them to use them and make it part of the event. So yeah, I'm big on all kinds of new technologies and kind of the experience stuff that's going on. And what's interesting about the live-in show that we're doing, we're basically it's a simulcast. So we're simulcasting our experience to other venues. And in that, we have a whole system that we put in those venues that create the experience for everybody so that we have a shared experience amongst the venues where we are live and where they are there. So we're really experimenting with that idea of, you got a band, let's see, the Chili Peppers show up at our venue here in Los Angeles, and we broadcast that experience out to the different venues that we're located with, and then they sell tickets there, and they're actually part of the show because of the way we set up the screens and all that stuff. We bring the fans in, and we try to create a whole experience so that
So
the
cool.
idea is we can make it happen all over the world at the same time, right?
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yep.
That's really cool. Tell us about the shoes that turn your body into a speaker. I've got to hear about this.
Yeah, so a friend of mine is a big venture capitalist, and they just put $10 million into this company. And he said to me, he said, dude, we just put $10 million in this company. They turn you into a speaker. And you put these shoes on and you vibrate and you buzz and you kind of like broadcast. It's like the trippiest thing. And then everybody around, you feel it. He says, once you listen to music this way, you will never want to listen to music again another way. So it makes you part of the experience. We were going to experiment putting 400 pairs on people at our events and just see what that was like. So we were just getting ready to do that until when COVID hit, and we didn't get a chance to do it. So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get in and really do a deep dive into the technology.
Because yes,
unfortunately,
my imagination goes wild with that. Like what it really is probably a different way to feel the music and to absorb music. What I'm thinking is it is a way you can open your mouth and be a human speaker.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's trippy. So
really
unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to really get into it, dive into it deep, but dive into it deep. But I'm planning. Hopefully, we'll get to start this up again soon.
All this with Pink Floyd going on in the background. Wow.
All this with Pink Floyd. Yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a trip. You can't go wrong when you play Pink Floyd. It always works.
It always works.
In every situation.
Yes.
It's always an experience.
And there's so much more to Pink Floyd than just music. You think of technology, a powerful brand. It's timeless yet progressive. And you're the exact same way. There's just so much more to you than music.
Yeah.
You've already, talked about the different things you're working on right now. That's awesome. Are you still building the Ignited Live network?
I actually sold Ignited. Well, Livin.live we're building, but Ignited Network, which was my mobile messaging and media company.
Yeah.
We sold that this last year. We actually had a company that licensed our technology and used it in their company, and then they got a big pitch to be funding from a venture capitalist that was going to put like $10 million into the company, and they said they didn't want to license anymore. Would we sell it to them? And I looked at my partner and I said, you know what? I want to get back into playing. So let's just sell it to them and move on. And we did this, and it was a nice little exit, and we just decided to move on. And I wanted to get back into playing, and that's why I started Think, because I wanted to not only be in because I'm a serial entrepreneur, I wanted to be in the business side, but I wanted to play more. And so that's why we just started Think, and I moved in that direction.
Speaking of playing, do you get insulted by being called a saxophone player? Because I feel like that's almost insulting because you play guitar and keyboards and have done percussion.
Well, I'm really
and
more
started with trumpet. It's a lot
Man,
more than saxophone.
Dude, you've done your homework. That's funny. Yeah, I was a trumpet player when I started out. I call that the coil of torture, because that thing is most painful, hardest thing to play in the world. And I switched to saxophone later on in college. But no, I'm happy with being called a saxophonist. I mean, my favorite is playing guitar. I love the guitar. It's like my favorite thing. But I'm mostly known as a saxophone player, and I love saxophone too. Don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful thing. I mean, just being a musician, I feel so blessed. It's such a gift. It allows me to connect with the source, basically. That's the beauty of playing music, is you get to get lost in it and kind of not be connected to the world. You get to go into the music world. It's such a gift, for us. So very thankful. Yeah, no, I don't get insulted. I'm happy to be a saxophone player.
I mean, you are absolutely incredible. And money,
Oh, thank you.
It's got to be so fun playing saxophone during having your money moment where it's just like all you up there. I mean, that's just fun to listen to. I can't imagine what it's like to be you to actually play it.
It is very interesting. I mean, listen, standing next to Dave Gilmour, my God, man, he's like my music guru, my hero. I learned so much from him, just about music in the sense that, when a lot of times when you're a saxophone player and you're trying to be all kinds of saxophone gymnastics, and you're playing jazz, trying to play all these licks, all this stuff, right? You're playing all these notes and stuff. And I learned from Dave. Dave is the master of melody. He changed my playing completely to the point where I said, you know what? I'm not going to try to play a lot of notes. I'm going to try to play stuff that people can follow along with. They can sing along with, play melodies. And so he completely changed the whole group. But, I mean, it's really a trip playing and getting to play on that. And I remember, this is funny. You just made me bringing this up when you said how cool it was. I have one memory that comes to me always during when we would do Us and Them, the song Us and Them, which was my favorite song to play because it was a lot of saxophone, right?
Yeah, of course.
But the funny part is they used to have this light that was behind me, like this super beam of light, right? And so when I'd go into my solo, the stage would go dark and they'd shoot this high beam of light, right? And I'd be just like glowing. Wow. But what was so funny is I could see myself, like when you do when you make your hand look like a bird when you get in front of a light.
Yeah.
So across the back of the stadium, I would see this giant me, right?
So you saw an enormous silhouette.
And I ended up seeing myself playing to the silhouette. Nobody else
cool, though.
They're all looking this way, but I'm looking that way, and there was like a 100-foot Scott Page on the wall.
That'd be a cool shot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was cool. And actually, I found in a video the other day, because I've been going through my archives. I shot about 150 hours of video on that last tour, and I was going through it, and I found a spot because I always told people about that, and I found a place where I had my camera set up, and I actually captured that. So I thought that would
be the
cool.
coolest shot just ever.
It's so funny. Yeah, funny bit.
Well, I'm eager to keep going, but before we do, let's take a break. If you enjoy hearing from people with too much useless knowledge, misguided pop culture commentary, and strange obsession with facial hair, the Bearded Men podcast is for you. Join these underachievers from Southern Vermont as they continue their journey this spring to discover the most overrated movie of all time. Listen to the Bearded Men podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and wherever great shows are given away for free. New episodes air every Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern. Grow a beard and go get you some.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for listening to Something Crunchy, and we hope you're enjoying the episode. It now pays to crunch down every week because we're hooking you up with big discounts from big brands. Up to 35% off Invicta watches using code CRUNCHY and apparel from 8080, where in addition to 10% off using code CRUNCHY, every dollar you spend goes towards an entry in their dream car giveaway. Don't forget to join the Something Crunchy Facebook group for updates, polls, and the web's crunchiest memes. You can find us on Twitter at crunch_cast, and feel free to send any questions and track submissions to somethingcrunchy@gmail.com. Now let's get back to the show.
back, crunching down with the one and only Scott Page. So you grew up around both music and television with your dad on the Lawrence Welk show. Tell us about growing up like this and how it shaped your path.
Wow, man, you have done your homework. Yeah, I grew up. I grew up in a musical family. My father was a great musician, wonderful musician, and he was on a television show called The Lawrence Welk Show, which was back in the day was one of the, there was only 7 channels on television then. And that show was
right.
number one variety show on TV. It happened every weekend. And so he was on that show for 14 years. So I grew up in that space. And so I guess one of my biggest claim to fames on the planet that I can say that nobody else in the entire world has ever done. I played in Lawrence Welk and Pink Floyd.
That's awesome.
So cool.
Now that's a story for you, because you think of Lawrence Welk, right? You think of all the champagne music, right? This kind of stuff, a little corny and a little funny, but
complete opposite.
I used to watch Lawrence Welk with my grandfather. I have fond memories of that show. Love it.
Of course you do, right? Yeah. So
and then had your Pink Floyd moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've been going because of all this NFT stuff and everything in my life. I've been wanting to, I've been a massive collector, and I had 3 things I wanted to do in my life. One is I wanted to do music, then I wanted to do business, and then third I wanted to do documentary. Right. So I've been collecting all this stuff, boxes and boxes, storing in a storage bin for 40 years of paying. I mean, think of this, how stupid I was. I've been paying for 40 years $700 a month for a storage bin. Just add that money up. I could have bought a house for that. Right?
Well, it'll pay for itself though. That says it's begging to be a project.
And most of that stuff, a lot of the stuff that was in there was still junk too. But I mean, I kept a lot of my good stuff in there. And so I've just been pulling that all out right now and going through it all. And I'm just like, I can't even believe it. It's trippy to go back and look at your life, because these boxes I haven't opened in 20, 30 years. I mean, I packed them, put them up, put them away, and never looked at it. And I just started looking at it. I actually went to about a couple of years ago, Dave Gilmour did a live broadcast from Pompeii. It was broadcast to all the theaters around the country. So I said, I'm going to go watch Dave do his thing. So I went to see the broadcast. It was a one night only thing, and I saw it. And I decided to come home. So I got home and I said, you know what? Those couple boxes, I got 2 big boxes that say Pink Floyd on them downstairs, and I'm going to go down and open them up and see what's in there. I brought them up and I laid it out. I wish if we were on air, I'd show you this thing. I cannot believe I have unused tickets from every show. I have every pack. I have freaking every form of T-shirt, bootlegs, just crazy stuff that I collected that I didn't even realize I had. And now it blew my mind. So it's very interesting. And so I've been going through all that lately, and I just digitized, 150 hours of Pink Floyd behind the scenes video and stuff, which has been just incredible to watch. It's so funny to look at yourself, because I hadn't touched that, that particular stuff in, 25, 30 years. So I hadn't known what was in it.
Are you planning on doing a documentary with it?
Partly, but I'm building a lot of NFTs out of it. So
that was the next thing I was going to say. I was talking about an NFT opportunity.
Oh yeah, this is why I like this, because part of it is I'm at a stage in my life where I want to turn everything over to the planet, right? I don't need to keep it anymore. And I have so much memorabilia and things that I have physical things, videos. Photography was my hobby. So while I was on the road, I made photography and videoing a project in the sense. And, it's funny, when I bought a camera at the time, it was a Super VHS when we were in Japan, and I ran out, got this camera because you couldn't get them in the States at the time. And I remember bringing it back, and there was everybody was in the dressing room, and we're all there. And I got my new camera, and I'm shooting everybody. And Dave Gilmour walks up and he says, "Dude, you're going to get tired of this. You're going to do it for a couple days, right?" No. 2 years later, after 2 years on the tour, Gilmour pulls me. He says, "Hand that camera to this guy." So he hands it to Gary Wallace, the percussionist, and he says, "Film this." And he says, "This guy, Scott Page, has been doing this to me for 2 years." and then he did a funny explicitive that I won't say. And we laughed, and it was so funny. But yeah, I mean, I just never stopped, right? I just never stopped, because I made it a hobby and a thing. And now when I'm looking at this, I haven't even looked at it all yet, because, to sit down and look at 150 hours of video, that's a gig.
Oh, you probably got some good stuff in there.
Oh my God. What I found so far is just unbelievable. I can't even believe it. It's just,
how fun.
How did I catch that? because it wasn't so much about the shows. It was really the behind the scenes.
I was going to say the stuff in between the shows and behind the scenes. Yes.
Yeah. So everybody watch up to here. And then at this point of my thing, then you watch the video and then you pick it up afterwards and I'll give you the after show stuff. Right. So, the one I'm working on right now is we played Venice, Italy, and it was one of the greatest rock concerts in history. They floated these 2 barges down from Oslo that were the size of football fields. And they built the entire stage on the water, 150 yards off of St. Mark's Square. And they built the sound mixing console was out on a little thing that they built out there.
Wow.
And it was a free Pink Floyd concert and hundreds of thousands of people showed up and basically closed down the city. People were living on their gondolas for the days while we were setting up. And, so I just saw this as such an opportunity and nobody was really documented. So I just basically pretty much stayed up for 5 days and just filmed this whole thing. And going back and looking at it now, it was so remarkable to see this event. And that's one of the things I'm working on right now for my first NFT is to show this story. And I'm doing it in a very interesting way. I'm not doing it like you would think. And you'll be surprised when you see how this is being done. But it's fascinating to look at this footage again and just watch it go down. And what's really cool, which I had no idea, is there's so many great tools now. So I'm upsampling it all to 4K.
Yeah.
So I'm on my Super VHS camera and I upsampled this stuff up before, and it looks fantastic. I can't even believe the tech, how it can do that now. So I'm very excited. So I'm building all these things. Yep. And then I have a whole bunch of things. So I'm basically, it's my Pink Floyd experience, my Moscow Music Peace Festival experience, all these things that I've had, and I'm going to basically start unleashing these and sending this stuff out. And I also have a lot of physical things that are going along with it. So I shot thousands of photographs, all black and white, because I was a big Ansel Adams zone system guy, so I was studying all that.
Every photographer goes through that phase.
Yep. So I went through that phase, and I was shooting nothing but black and white. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take all these photos. I'm going to make one print, and I'm going to mount the negative in with it. And that's going to be sold. So you're going to get, nobody's ever seen these photos. This will be an NFT. The first one you're going to be able to buy, the first guy that buys the one will get the actual physical photograph mounted with the negative. So that's why I'm going to take thousands of these photos and I'm going to get them all out there in that way, because I want to get it out in the world. Because what I love about this NFT and the whole idea, it's basically it's moving the physical world into the digital world. Yeah. Right. And so this is going to archive everything. So I'm looking at it. I'm basically tokenizing everything I have that's a collectible and just going to put it out there so that people can have it, because, we don't live forever. And
it's true.
I don't need it. I can't take it with me, and I want to at least get it out there. So I'm very excited about this NFT place and how I can get my collections and things out to the world.
And it's a great way to inventory basically all of your collectibles. If you don't know what you have, but everything is in an NFT, you will know exactly what you have.
That's right. And I'll know it's the original and it's on the blockchain. Right? It's beautiful. Yep.
Well, here's your one hardball question, Mr. Page.
Uh-oh.
I hope you can handle the heat.
Oh, my God. Don't do it. Okay,
which band partied the hardest? Supertramp, Toto, or Pink Floyd?
Partied the hardest?
Partied the hardest.
Just depends on who you were hanging with.
Good answer.
And everybody had places to party. I mean, I always kid, I always say, I feel like I am the most grateful and feel blessed human being that ever lived, and I'm alive to talk about it. And I really don't know how that's possible. Thinking about what we did as those kids will have party on. And, I've had more fun than any human being, man. And I'm alive to talk about it. And, it really depends. I mean, there's certain people that take it harder than others. And, there's also the code of ethics that we have as musicians. We don't talk.
Understood.
Fair enough. I kind of like hearing that at the same time. Like, as much as I'm like dying to know all the juicy details, I totally respect like the code.
If I could tell the stories, they're just incredible.
Yeah, teasing
I can't even
save that for later.
I can't even believe it. I cannot even believe it, actually, when I look back now and I'm going, oh my God, what were we thinking? How did that? What? I did that. It's like, oh my gosh.
And when you think that the most, which band are you surrounded by?
Which one am I what?
And when you're thinking that the most, which band are you surrounded by in those memories? Is it Supertramp, Toto, or Pink Floyd?
All the bands were good. I mean, yeah, I mean, they were all different, right? They were all very different. I mean, the Toto guys were my brothers. We grew up together. I was in a kid band with them called Merciful Soul Band with actually Jeff Porcaro and David Page.
Wow.
When I was a kid, we had a band called Merciful Soul Band, and it was a horn band it was like Chicago Blood, Sweat and Tears. And we had I was the worst guy in the band. I played second trumpet. That was what I did. And then Jeff Porcaro and David Page, their careers took off like crazy. And, doing Boss Skaggs and all that stuff. But I sucked. I couldn't play worth shit. And I decided that's when I decided to take music on full time. I was actually at the time I was studying to be a draftsman. I took design and that was my whole thing. And I was actually working for a company called Audiodyne at that time, drawing exploded views of parts and things, right? And those were the days there was no computers, right? We did that by hand. We had that good pencil technique and, using rulers and, all that kind of stuff. And so I was pretty good at that. And all of a sudden I started playing in the band with all these guys. We're winning all the battle of the bands. And I had that big realization. There's girls at these gigs. There's no girls at my job in the daytime. I'm sitting there drinking. It's me and my 20 cups of coffee. And I said, you know what? This ain't for me. I'm going to be a musician. So I told my parents, I said, I'm done. I'm done with all this stuff. I'm going to be a musician now, Pop. And he was like, obviously being a musician. He said, go for it. So I took my drafting skills because I wasn't very good and I was just getting into college, and I decided that I'd take up music copying. And music copying was, in the old days, again, no computers, a composer. I was working for a guy named H.B. Barnum who was doing all the record dates and everything. And he would call me up and say, dude, I got a chart that needs to be copied. And, he writes the score where the score has, the trumpets, the trombones, the saxophones, the guitars, all that on one sheet. And then I had to extract the trumpet layer out onto one chart.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Oh, yeah. So I'd have to write out every part, right? I just copy what he had onto a trumpet part so the trumpet player would have a part because they couldn't read the score. And so I did that, and that was how I kept myself alive while I was studying. And I went whole hog into the music scene and had multiple teachers, and I studied from some of the best, and I just did that. So I kept myself alive by doing music copying because it was, at least I was in the game, and and then just kind of worked my way up and played every gig I could and got lucky. And it's all about relationships. And, I was one of those guys that would realize that in order to, get anywhere, you had to be where the scene was. And so if every time I got a gig to play at a cool club like Madame Wong's or, the Whiskey or some of those places where the industry was, I would always take them, whether they were free gigs or I was getting paid. I'd turn down paid gigs to go play those gigs because I knew that, you had to be where the industry was. That's where they built the relationships and stuff. So, and that was the case. And, and a perfect example was I used to play a gig on Monday nights at a place, or Sunday and Mondays at a place in Toluca Lake. And, it's so funny. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's so strange. I can't remember. I was there for years. Right. And so, it's that old age, brother.
It happens.
You kind of forget about it. It happens. But anyway, it was a club we played in, and there was a guy that was sitting in the back of the room, and he'd always, every week, we'd be there having a beer, very quiet and everything. So I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, what's your name?" He said, "My name's Bob." I said, "Okay, hey, Bob, what do you do?" He said, "I play drums." I said, "Well, what do you do?" He says, "Well, I play drums in a band called Supertramp, and we're here making a record at A&M Records and stuff." And so I became buddies with him there, and we became friends and stuff and talking, and they did Breakfast in Merit. It all went out. And then years later, I was playing with Diana Ross, and I was in Las Vegas. We were doing a gig there, and I got a call from Bob, and he says, "Hey, we're looking for somebody." And that was because of that relationship I had. It was years later. He says, "We're looking for somebody to come join the band." I said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, can you come and audition?" And I said, "Well, my day off in Vegas was on Wednesday." I said, "I can come out Wednesday. I can fly Wednesday and come into town, and then I got to fly back that night." So I flew in and I got the gig, and then I went and told Diana that I can't go on much longer. I'll finish up this date, and then I'm leaving. And then I left and went and did Super. So you never know where it's going to come from. And then during the Supertramp, Dave Gilmour comes over to guest on the Supertramp record, and we hang out that day. And he plays on the Supertramp record and stuff. And that night I I had a club gig right down the street with a band I have called the Hang Dynasty, which is still around. And it's really made up of great players like Lee Sklar from Phil Collins Band and Jeff Baxter from the Doobie Brothers. And, all these different guys. And we were playing down the street. So I invited Gilmore and everybody came down and we partied that night and we played and hung out. And then I invited him to an event I was doing a week later, and he came to that. And the next thing I know, I get a call. He says, "Come put some solos on the record." I went and put solos on the record. And then a couple days later, I get a call and it's Dave on the phone. And he says, "Hey, dude, we're going out. we're adding guys. You want to join the band? Would you be part of this?" And then, but here's what's funny was, as I said, "Let me think about it." What? And the reason I said that, because
could you say this?
Because here's why. I knew nothing about Pink Floyd. I knew nothing about Pink Floyd at that time because I was into. No, I'm serious. It's hard to, because I was so into Junior Walker and R&B and Stevie Wonder and. Saxophone isn't in that sort of psychedelic space. So I wasn't paying any attention. I knew Floyd because I said, well, I think they had the song Have a Cigar. I kind of remember that. And that's about all I knew. So when I got called, Dave came to Bleed. He said he was from Pink Floyd. I said, great. He's a guy coming guesting. But I didn't realize the magnitude of Pink Floyd at that time at all. And so when he called me up, I said, well, Dave, let me think about it because I was working on a project. Because he says, we're going out for 2 years. So that's like you're saying, okay, pack your shit up for 2 years, right? And it's like, that's a pretty big commitment, especially when you were working on this project that he came to see. And I was in the middle of editing. That was my own thing. And I was pulling that all together. And so I said, let me think about it, Dave, and I'll get back to you. Let me think. He said, okay, fine. So I called up my buddy and I said, last week I got to play on this Pink Floyd record. The guy said, dude, you played on a Pink Floyd record? I said, yeah. I said, I went and played and I did this thing. I put these solos on this record and stuff. And it was like, wow, how cool is that? And I said, wow. And he said, then I get a call from the guitar player, this guy, David Gilmour. He says, David Gilmour called you on the phone? I said, yeah. And he said, well, you want to join the band? And I said, well, I don't know. He says, dude, you got to do that gig. He says, he starts telling me how big this is. So that night, I remember going to Tower Records because it used to be open 24 hours, right? And I went to Tower Records and I bought about Dark Side of the Moon. And I bought a handful of Pink Floyd records to listen to because I had no idea. So I went and listened to it and went, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, it's cool. And everybody, all my friends are saying, you're an idiot if you don't do this.
You better.
You are a complete idiot. And so I said, okay. And then now I end up in Toronto. We're at the Toronto airport, and I'm getting shuttled out to an airplane hangar in the middle of the tarmac. And I walk in and there's beds flying and pigs flying and this massive thing there. And I went, holy crap, this is a big deal.
It would have been a mistake to not have joined.
Oh, dude, biggest mistake I would have made in my life.
Absolutely.
If I didn't do that.
It doesn't get any bigger than Pink Floyd.
No.
I don't think that any other band has had more of their songs covered than Pink Floyd. Are there any that you've heard that you actually enjoyed?
I don't know.
Something special?
I wouldn't even really know that, to be honest, how many covered. There's a lot of people playing Floyd tunes for sure. I have no idea. When you say covered, you mean people playing them? I guess I'd imagine. You definitely hear it, a lot of it.
You hear a lot of it.
But there's not too many people that play Mustang Sally. You hear that everywhere, right? It's kind of hard to believe that. I played that so many times through the years. More times than I played Have a Cigar.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, big time. Oh, yeah. There's, standards that you play. I wouldn't say Pink Floyd is really known in the standards world because, when you think of standards, Every Breath You Take, Mustang Sally, all those kinds of songs that are just traditional pop songs, because Floyd wasn't really pop, right? They weren't number one pop hits. You never heard it there, but they were on the Billboard charts for almost, I think it was 20 years or something, in the top 200. So it's one of those longevity kind of culture changing kind of bands, right? A little different than pop songs. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, you are about as crunchy as it gets, Mr. Page. This has been so fun. Thank you so much.
I'm happy. I'm very thankful to be on your show. Really, honest to God, I love doing this with people, and I can tell you guys are, this is a great show. You got some fun going on there, and like I said, this is a great time for people to get into business. This is the greatest time as an entrepreneur I've ever seen. And look at you. You got a business now. You couldn't have competed like this, 10 years ago.
No, you're
right?
exactly right. And we love the optimism and that outlook. Like, that is so good. It has been a real treat to have you on. And you can follow the legendary Scott Page on all of his social media platforms at I am Scott Page, and get updates and info on the Think Floyd tour at thinkexp.co. You are just the coolest. Really, we are so appreciative for the opportunity to have you on.
Well, thank you very much. And anytime, man, I love to talk. I love to hang out with people, and especially people that are interesting and fun to talk to. So, please, anytime you want to chat, my friend, there's a lot we can talk about.
Yeah.
Well, next time we'll get into my favorite subject, consciousness. So if you want to get in, go deep.
We're going to start next time with consciousness.
Nailed it on the head.
Yes.
That's my thing. I'll talk to you about that all day long.
You're really picking up on our vibe.
In the right room.
Yes,
sir.
I mean it when I say we will take you up on that.
Yeah,
talking to the right people for that.
No, we will have a whole conversation just on that. I'm serious.
Blair just got to access her Acacia Records last weekend.
That is true.
What was that? I'm sorry?
I said Blair got to access her Acacia Records last weekend.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
Yeah.
And we will be eager and ready to attend the show when the tour is back up and on. I cannot wait to see what you come up with next. Thank you for your time. And I am so excited to talk to you again soon, Mr. Page.
Thank you very, very much for having me. And hello to everybody out there in podcast land. And remember, stay positive. It's all going to work out. You've just got to look for the upside of down, because there's a lot there. Don't get mired in all the crap. There's too many good things going around. Get out there, smell the roses, enjoy this ride. It's all about the ride, folks.
So well
said. All about the ride.
Thank you so much, Mr. Page.
Scott Page.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Page.
Yay! And the crowd roars.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Just a little bit of crunching with a rock legend. No big deal, Blair.
What an awesome guy. I feel like
fun.
We are brothers from another mother.
Was he not up our alley?
Yeah.
He was speaking Tyler's language the whole time. Going from consciousness to NFTs to just psychedelic shows. Yeah. I mean, Tyler was just a perfect fit for
all of Tyler's buttons right there.
Did that show not sound fucking awesome
too? We need to go to the show.
Need to take some pictures and
I need that experience in my life.
At the Think Floyd show.
Yeah.
Before we started, Blair was getting her notes right for the show, and so she was like, "So the Think Pink is what we're gonna. It's the name of the." Like, well, Blair, that's the name of your new OnlyFans page. Think Pink. The name of the show is Think Floyd. Baby.
Oh, right.
Come on.
You might think it's just a little mix up, but big difference there.
Cripes.
God, that was a cool interview.
That was awesome. That guy was super cool.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Man.
Supertramp cool.
And the fun doesn't stop here. We got some more big names coming on the show and some really fun episodes on deck. The deadline to enter for the 8080 Dream Car giveaway number 44 for a McLaren 600 LT plus $60,000 in cash is coming up on May 2nd. For a limited time, they're offering double the entries, meaning every dollar you spend now gives you not one, but two entries. You should be shopping here anyway. 8080 was one of our favorite brands before we were in cahoots, but the fact that you could actually win cars in cash for shopping there, come on, this is a no-brainer, y'all. So is visiting somethincrunchy.com, where you will find every episode, our links for social media, and the almighty Crunch Store, where you will find all kinds of crunchy gear showing that you are a proud citizen of Crunch Nation. Don't hesitate to come get weird into Something Crunchy Facebook group, where 3,000 strong await your funniest memes and the nastiest shit you could find on the web. It's a good time all the time. This has been another epic episode of Something Crunchy. And as always, don't ever forget to live your crunchiest life.
And be crunchy to one another.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and all that crunchy good shit. Thank you for listening.
Wow, man, you have done your homework. Yeah.
Like
you get an A, girl. You get an A, girl. Let's rock.